Fuzzy, thanks for taking the time to talk to me, man. And I know I live thousands of miles away, but when I come here, I said, "Your family. Always got to make a point to see you." So, anyway, tell us a little bit of the story. Uh, how did stunts, or how did even getting into movies and TV shows start for you here in Hawaii?
Wow. Well, when I got over here in, I guess, 1970, um, we used to go down to the beach all the time in front of the Royal Hawaiian and play cards and whatever. And one of the guys that was there was a stand-in for Jack Lord at that time. And so I got kind of with the drift of what was going on with that and everything. And when I lived in LA, I think I worked on a couple projects, non-union and whatever, and I really loved the business and wanted to get into it. Well, in 1972, when my friend Gary Baxley, which was one of the stunt guys on the original Dukes of Hazzard, when he came over, he'd always told me that, when you get in, I'll get you over to the mainland and work you and this and that and whatever. Well, at that time, I was starting to look into a little bit of modeling and things like that. And the agent that I had finally got me on to a show. It was one where they needed blonde, blue-eyed guys. Not blonde now, but anyhow, for the special things. So I worked a few days on that. And that's what got me started in the business. And after that, I joined the union right away, which actually was the Screen Extras Guild back then, and it developed in the Screen Actors Guild later. But then I just started working on shows, and I always seemed to stand up front and watch by the camera and see what was going on, and got to know the stunt coordinators always. And they just, I guess, took a liking to myself and started. Back then they could give you a little adjustment and give you a little stunt stuff to do and everything, which is way different than they do now, of course. But the interest was there. It was a whole lot of fun, a lot of good people to work with. And that's kind of how I got my career kind of started. And it just kept multiplying and multiplying.
Now, you were working with Gary Baxley. Now, Gary Baxley is a legendary name already, back from the Baxley brothers. Back.
Well, it was Craig Baxley was his cousin, and Paul Baxley was the uncle, and all three of them ran the Dukes of Hazzard. That was the main guys. Gary was the one that, when you see the orange car jumping in the air between each show, he was the one that was in that all the time.
I remember talking to Gary, and Gary showing me his scars. I swear it looked like he had a zipper suit on in some of those. But a nice guy, great guy. I did a small driving stuff for Gary, but you did a lot of driving for Gary.
Yeah, I was pretty much his main guy over here, other than just being personal friends with him too. Because, like I say, whenever I went to the mainland, I'd stay at his house and go with him to the set, and he worked me on a lot of different shows that he coordinated and whatever. But yeah, one of many, I guess, of the people that I did work for. But he's got to be one of my main guys, because he and I turned out to be really good friends. To today, we still talk to each other all the time, and in fact, I just talked to him, I think, last week, and whatever. So yeah,
I ran into Gary a couple months ago at the World Stunt Awards, and that guy doesn't age. He looks like you. He said you guys drank from the same well,
That we did. We were both bartenders here back in the early 70s. So
right on. What bars were that you were working in Hawaii back that time?
I started. A friend of mine, I guess then or whatever, wanted to use me they were going to open the Red Lion Pizza Parlor, the one on Kuhio Avenue, and they needed a bartender there and whatever. So Donnie, the one that asked me, said, "Would you like to train over at the Pieces of Eight cellar for a week, and then we can move you over there when it opens?" That would be the week after that, and you would take over there as the bar manager, running that bar and doing stuff and learning the biz. I said, "You got it. I'm your guy." So that's how I got into that part of it.
Now name off some of the shows on the mainland that you did, that you worked on for Gear.
Okay, I'm gonna use my cheat sheet here. Glasses for the old man. Okay. Geez, they go back to, well, let me see. Oh, that's the other page there. A lot of the TVs, I was one of the originals on the Magnum PI. There were 6 of us, 4 of the main actors, and Pepe and Felipe, and we were in Vietnam together. And I was Pepe. He was the radio man, and I forget what Felipe was, but anyhow, when we were in Vietnam, I ended up dying or getting killed over there, and then Felipe was the one that
Here,
got killed.
Show us that picture. That.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, here we have right here. That was the one that was in Margaret Dovasola's office forever, and I never did get a picture, but Chemo got me one, and I love it.
And that's you right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to have you. I brought a few over. I'm going to have you sign a few of those, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
But.
Yeah, this is, God, those were the days. Jeez, that was that would have been 1970-ish. No, wait a minute.
1980.
Yeah, 1980-ish. 80 was, yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, that was a few days ago.
Now, after Magnum, you ended up getting a really good spot on the TV show Lost.
Oh, yeah, Lost was awesome. Mike Trissler was the stunt coordinator on the show, and actually there was one before him, but when he took over on the show, everybody always asked me, why are you not doubling for Michael Emerson? And I said, well, I'd love to, but, then when Mike took over the show, back to that, I asked Mike, I said, Mike, what's my chances of possibly doubling for Michael Emerson? And he looked at me and goes, let's go into makeup and see what they think. He said, I think you might just work.
Do you have a picture of that? Oh, here it is.
Which, well, that takes it pretty good, doesn't it? If you wanted to do this one here, that was one that he signed. We send each other Christmas cards to today. Every year he always sends me one, and I send him one. Michael Emerson, I've got to talk just a little bit about him because he was probably the best actor on that show. What's his name? The tall other guy, the Locke.
Oh.
What's his name? Anyhow, he was one that was another good actor. But Michael, he could take 4 pages of script, look at it a couple times, and he had it down. I mean, he was perfect. And to me, anyhow, I don't know how he was with other people because he probably didn't talk to a lot of the other people. But he was great to me. We had great conversations at one of the big rap parties that we had. He and his wife sat with us, Syl and myself, and we sat together there. I mean, he was just a great person to work for. And they liked everything I did, so that was good.
That's great. So, and yeah, I remember watching the show, and Emerson was a very polarizing character and actor. So he, yeah.
By looking at me right now with my hair like this and everything else, sometimes they would straighten it if I was going to work for a period of some time, so they wouldn't have to keep straightening it and spraying it because my hair is a little more curlier than his. And other times I would dye it for them also, nice and dark, so that it matched easier than them having to spray it. But either way, I always worked for him and whatever. And like I say, size-wise, we were almost perfect size together.
And you took some good falls for him.
Couple of them, yeah.
Now, what was the highest fall?
Well, I think the one that I'll always remember that I was pretty worried about only because of my age, for one, and my ankles and whatever, was the one that I walked with Locke during a cave to go. We were looking for the place that I had to ask for forgiveness. It was, I think, on the last year that they were working. But anyhow, there was a hole that ends up that Michael walks right up to that area, and then it's covered over. And on action, I have a torch. On action, I have to take that step and lift the pole up, or the torch up, and fall through the hole. And I think it was 12 feet. It could have been 13, I'm not sure. And all I had to land on was a 6-inch porta pit. and going through that hole, and I knew I had to do it twice too. So going through that hole with all the dust and everything else, I couldn't see a thing, so I had no idea when I was going to hit and whatever. I taped my ankles up, just for some more support for them. But it turned out to be great. The director, then right after that I went up and did another one because it was two different camera angles. But all night, Emerson, first of all, Michael Emerson had to leave. Not Michael Emerson, but Trissler had to leave. So he left me in charge over there to stick around and do whatever they needed. And, to help coordinate the rest of the shot and everything. Anyhow, all night the director kept coming over to me and patting me on the back. He just loved what I did. So that was got to be my best thing that turned out to be good.
Yeah.
But there was one that I got beat up on a boat ramp, and then I get thrown underwater where I'm supposed to die or whatever, and I have to go down and hold my breath for a while till I knew I had to come back up then, and whatever. That one I got pretty beat up on. Mike Trissler is not does not take it easy on you, but that was, I don't know, was it 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. I was still in pretty good shape. I'm still okay shape now, but I'm not 20.
I know. I thought you were ready to do a few rounds of WWF. right now. But anyway, let's jump back to Magnum. So, so you were on the call roster as the steady one of the steady guys to call from.
Yeah.
And we had a good friend, and it was a good mentor to me back in high school, in John Nordlum, who also started the stunt organization, the Hawaii Stunt Association. So I liked I liked him when he was my counselor in high school, and he was well liked during fiveO, and I guess, and then he was Tom Selleck's guy, right, during Magnum from all 8 seasons.
Did he go all the way through? He might have.
Yeah, he even went with him over to do High Road to China.
A couple of movies and stuff. Well, unfortunately, I think he was mostly a stand-in.
Right.
But he did do some of his lighter work because
Tom
Lupo was his main stunt guy.
Yeah, but he does a lot of his diving for him, right?
Oh yeah. He was a certified diver, so and he grew up diving,
right.
So.
And that was him jumping out of the helicopter into the water for him.
I'm not sure which that was.
I think that was when we were going diving.
Been.
Yeah. So, what fun times, because we had a nice little group there at the time, and then even when he broke off was a fun.
We had some good people there.
Yeah. So
maybe a couple that didn't belong there, but there were several of us that belonged there and did work a lot.
So tell us some stories about working with well, I tell you what I remember is I got to work as an extra on the same episode you did with Frank Sinatra.
Oh God, that rings a good bell.
Because
I'm disappointed in one way, but
let me go back, because there was a fight scene that you were supposed to do with Frank at the top of the building, which was done, but Sinatra was there, and you introduced me to Sinatra real quick because you guys were going up towards the building and Sinatra looked, you introduced me, and I was forever grateful for that. And Sinatra looked at me, and he just slaps me on, gives me a couple taps on the cheek and goes, "Good kid." That's all he said. But to me, I'm like, hey, to me that was the conversation with the chairman of the board. So I want to thank you for that. But then you guys went and did the
yeah
did the scene.
Well, first of all, he had his entourage upstairs on the roof up there. I think there were 4 of them who were drinking Jack Daniels throughout the set. That was pretty crazy. But working with him now, I was doubling the actor, and
the bad guy.
Yeah, the
Right.
bad guy, and working with him was great because we just chatted a lot on a lot of different things, and he just was seemed to be a really really nice guy. The thing I'm bummed out about is that would have been one that I should have brought my camera and had him take a picture of the 2 of us, and I didn't do it. It was quite a ways back in my career, and I don't want to say that I had an ego with actors because they're just people, but some people are, special. Like I have a picture of Tom Selleck and myself. I mean, Tom was a super, super nice guy.
And you have that up here. I want to pan this up,
Okay.
up here. Now tell us about that. Where was that taken?
I don't know the place, but it was on set somewhere where we were working together. But like Tom, once again, Tom though was one that if I was ever on set, whatever I was doing, if he walked by me, he'd pat me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Fuzzy, how you doing today?" That's how Tom was. Tom was great. Where just to go back to fiveO, Jack Lord was not great. He was not pleasant with people and created problems on the set, it seemed like, all the time. One other thing, back to Frank though, working with him and whatever, that was probably the most important kind of stunt that I think I got to work with, because Frank is really if you're lucky enough just to see him is probably nice, but to work directly with him and have him be the one punching me over the fall
Yeah.
and whatever. I mean, that was something special.
Now I tell you what, when I was there on the set, obviously I didn't go up to the top because it was only so many people up there, and it only was necessary crew.
Yeah.
Sil was down there. Your wife Sil. She was down there, and when I was talking to her, she was concerned because in the script, in the story, that actor, I forget, which the character's name, that he gets beaten up. He's supposed to fall over off the building, and Sil wasn't. That was kind of got Sil, because we were standing there at the bottom looking straight up, and we're saying, "Boy, that is Fuzzy going to do the fall," and. So, but we all know how it was handled. You guys did an awesome fight up there, and then the character goes over the building. Said, I guess you didn't have to do the high fall. They didn't shoot it, right?
Well, actually, they used a dummy to go off the thing. So, but they had another set built to where he punched me and the set looked just like it, and I go out of frame. Right. So it looks like it's me that going over it. But it was basically a fight thing. I didn't have to do a high fall. I just had to do kind of a short fall, But just that was a special day. Yeah. For sure.
It really was. And I was even on the street scene earlier. I think it was the day before, or to go into the night. I don't remember where they're looking for that character throughout the streets on Hotel Street downtown. And so that was a fun day. What I remember being there was, there's a guy who's a hairdresser. I think his name is Robert. He has long hair. He's a hairdresser. He has a salon up there by the Crack Siege store.
Oh no, that's
Richard.
Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I used to get my hair cut. Silk goes there about every 3 weeks.
So he's still here.
Oh yeah.
He did a great scene. He had a great scene with Frank Sinatra. It slams his head into the glass.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, when you go back and look at Laura, he has a great scene with Frank Sinatra.
Wow. And I thought I would have known about that.
Yeah.
As much as Richard and I talked, we talked always about shows. He used to do Margaret's hair too there.
And Margaret, what a wonderful lady she was.
Oh, she was back in the early days when I first started, which was 1978. yeah, Margaret took a big liking to myself, and Syl, once she started in '83, I guess it was. It was one where it could be the morning of. She would call me and say, "Fuzzy, can you work right now?" And I'd be on set. So she always knew she could have me whenever she needed me, and that was a good thing. But just not just doing that, she was really a great person anyhow.
Yeah. I got called a lot by Margaret in probably the last 3 or 4 seasons of Magnum. So a lot of things, even some of the things where when I just go, hey, that's my hand, and that kind of stuff. But yeah,
It's way different now than how it used to be.
Yeah,
because back then it was still not that many people that were working in the business, not anywhere close to Screen Actors Guild people. So, and she knew all that Screen Actors people, and those mostly worked all the time. The way it was done then was a little bit different. Now it's a number deal where, they can hire so many and then the rest are all non-union. So.
Right. Yeah, in fact, the Margaret even started to call me in for audition for lines, and I guess little by little, she told me that, as I progressed, see how much more lines you can, if they come up.
I'm horrible at dialogue.
So,
Stunts I can fall for you or take a hit any day.
Now, what can you tell us about working with Larry Manetti and Roger Mosley? Roger Mosley just recently left us.
That's right. That's right. Well, I was one. What's his name? Jeff Cottrell was usually his double for Larry Mosley. Larry Manetti. But I doubled for him a couple times when he was either couldn't or wasn't around or something. He was always real nice to me. He was always nice to me, and I could talk with him. A lot of people he either didn't want to talk to or just didn't come across with them. But to me, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Roger Mosley, on the other hand, was always kind of kept to himself, wasn't always the nicest guy on set either, and sometimes harder to work with. But together as a team, when you're working with them, they're all the same pretty much, and me being the outsider would not really see a lot of the other stuff. I would just hearsay kind of stuff and kind of hear of it and whatever. Again, those were in my earlier days too, so I was kind of still learning.
Right.
To where what I know now, it would be, I would know everything, and then I'd say, oh yeah, for sure.
Well, I know Roger would. I would see him playing basketball down there by the.
Roger used to play?
Roger Mosley would be playing a pickup basketball game with by the fire department there in Waikiki.
Huh.
And so you would see his Porsche, the one that Tom Selleck bought him a Porsche, and
that's one thing. Speaking of Tom, at one of the Christmas parties, he gave out, I think it was 200 jackets that had the big thing of Magnum on the back, and on the front you could have whatever name you wanted printed on it, and inside of it was sewn in to "Thanks Tom Selleck" written on the jacket.
Do you still have that jacket?
Yeah, it's in pretty good shape still. I mean, it's okay.
Is it in the closet? You can show it?
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on.
Okay. Boy, look at all the great shows that Fuzzy's worked on. And what do you got there? Oh man, that's a beautiful jacket. That's that's way cool. Now let's see. Let's see that tag on the inside.
Get a better light there. Can you read that at all?
Yeah, boy, that's very cool. So that's when you got the real thing. And also,
just my name on one side, not on the other, is just
Man.
What a neat jacket, though. And in fact, going back to back to Larry Manetti, when I worked on, I don't know what show it was. I think I was just doing background work on something that he was in the show. And for some reason, it was on the cooler time of the year. I had worn that jacket to the show. And when I kind of walked by him, he said, "Fuzzy." And I looked over and went, "Hey, Roger, how you doing?" I mean, not Roger, Larry. God, how come I keep mixing them up? Anyhow, he called me by name and he said, "That's one of those jackets that Tom gave people." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're lucky." He said, "That thing's probably worth, at least $1,000, maybe a couple $1,000 right now." Oh. I said, "It's not in the best shape." He said, "It wouldn't matter because it's a special jacket and whatever."
It was very special.
And I thought, well, I'm not selling it. I still keep it just for memory for one, and that was a good memory.
You know what? So, what a wonderful show that was to work on. What a wonderful,
yeah.
What a wonderful atmosphere.
Yep, it was. And again, that was back in the days. It was a lot less money to work on and everything, but everything's, ways out. But it was just the people that worked on it. Heck, you knew everybody. I mean, I'm sure you did. I know I knew everybody because I worked on it a lot too. So it was just fun to go there and work because everybody you knew, and it was fun. Now there's so much switching around and everything else. Like I worked on a Magnum just last week.
The new Magnum PI.
Yeah. And the crew people look like they're almost all from the mainland. I didn't even know but a few of the local ones. And I'm going, wow, big difference. But yeah, the old days, a lot of it was pretty fun.
Now, Tom is out of all the between the four characters of John Hillerman, Larry Manetti, and Roger and Tom. Tom, you would see more often around town.
Just walking around by himself. Yeah. He was comfortable with that.
And so was John Hillerman. Our friend Achilles saw him walking around Ala Moana, eating at Patty's Chinese Kitchen.
Some people too, if he just was very nonchalant, maybe a lot of people wouldn't even know who he is.
Right.
I mean, they would if they saw him and knew, and they were told, "Oh, this is, so-and-so." Then they would say, "Oh, yeah." But if they're just walking by someone, a lot of times for their sake, that they don't have to talk to everybody because then you can't even walk. You have to stand there and whatever. So it's crazy.
And Tom was real cool. In fact, I worked on the show a few times. I even introduced...
Another unavailable.
Well, I introduced a friend who worked on a publication with Tom Selleck. It was a Playboy article, but anyway. To where when Tom was over at Diamond Head Market one day, he was coming out, and I was talking to a friend of mine who worked at the market, and Tom looked at me and he goes, "Hey, Chemo, how you doing?"
Well, that's how Tom was.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew a lot of the people on there by name.
I was surprised, and so my friend said, "Wow, you know Tom Selleck?" I said, "Oh yeah, we're like this," and I had my hands far apart. So we weren't intertwined like that. We're even further apart than that. 3 feet apart.
I've said that before. I mean, he was just the people he knew. He would always call them by name and be very honest with what he said. Very honest, good person.
Now, one thing, when I moved to Las Vegas, I was working the grave shift crew at the Desert Inn, which is no longer there. But Larry Manetti happened to walk in, and I looked at him and I said, "How you doing, Mr. Manetti?" And he looks at me and he points at me and he goes, "Stunt guy." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And when I told him I was living here now in Las Vegas and I'm working the grave shift crew and graveyard, and he hands me a business card. I wish I still had that business card because he was a liaison to bring in celebrities to the Desert Inn, know. And so he said, "I'm connected with the hotel. So you need anything, you give me a call." I said, "Do you need to go home?"
Wow.
I'll work it out so you can go home. I said, "Everything's good. I get to go home." And so so he shook my hand, give me a good handshake, and he says, "Remember, anything you need." I said, "Thank you, Mr. Manetti." And he looks at me, points at me, and says, "It's Lorenzo." I said, "Okay, Lorenzo." So that was cool.
Yeah, like I say, there are a bunch of really good people out there, and some that have a lot of egos.
Now I love all the stories of the stunt. I mean, and we're as far our Magnum fans that but also you're doing something that's you've evolved where you're making plumeria trees. You're selling them, and you have so many different types of plumerias that you've interbred.
Well, okay. When I first moved in this house here in 1980. I grafted a few different ones on my tree out there and whatever, and I didn't think much of it back then and whatever. I just whatever. But now it's been, I think we're going to be into our 15th season, where we have an eBay that we put plumeria up for sale every Monday, and it closes on Saturday. These are all rooted plants, probably anywhere from this size to like maybe this size. And we have over 150 varieties of different plumeria.
Wow.
And you'd probably say 150 varieties. To now, before people used to bond or work it together to make a different thing. Now what people do is they plant, say 1,000 different seedlings from a certain tree or whatever. When the seed pod opens, they use, well, I don't know if you know what seed pods look like. Actually, I have one right here that I could show you, because I'm going to be putting it in. Well, let me go over here first. I don't know if can you see that okay?
Yeah.
That's what the seed pod looks like after it's open. And then when the seeds come out, this is the other side of this one here. That's what they look like, the seed pods. And this is what I use to plant, different varieties with. And if I planted every one of those seeds there, okay, the tree that came off of was probably a reddish with a lot of rainbow, really nice colors in it. So every one of those seeds, it might take it 2 to 3 years to flower, sometimes even 4 years. And when it does flower, it rarely comes to the exact same look of that flower. And a lot of times it's way different. Some of them are outstandingly even better. Others might just be a blend white or something else. Sometimes they don't come out with all the color in them and whatever. So out of those 1,000, you might get a good handful or maybe even a dozen that turn out to be really, really nice flowers that are a new variety. That's how come there's tens of thousands of different varieties that people sell now.
Wow.
It's not like here there's the local people think there's a white, yellow, red, rainbow, and I don't know what else. But so that's how that works. Now, yes.
They have all different names, right? You name them?
Yeah. To name them legally and all that kind of stuff, you have to write in and do a bunch of I don't even know how you do it, but if you want that as a registered named one. But a lot of the ones that we have sold through seed, because we've created over the years, I would say at least 15 to 20 different varieties that are new that no one else has. And a couple of those, I'll just give you a for instance, like the Lauren Michelle. We named that after my 2 boys' girlfriends, Lauren and Michelle. So we named it the Lauren Michelle. And that one there, everyone knows that one now as the Lauren Michelle, not as another one. So that one is a variety. It's not created. It's not legally done up in a thing, but when people want to buy it, they know what to ask for. They won't just say, what is that one that blah, blah, blah. They'll say, do you have any of the Lauren Michelle? Because they've seen it around and they know that it's a expensive one to get. So that's how that kind of works. But we usually put up I'd say about 50 different ones. Well, maybe about 45 now, something like that, every week on our eBay. And then Monday morning when they all come up, then that's when some of the bids start coming in. and whatever. And we've done so well every year that's our, me and my wife Syl, that's our business that we do also. And we work from probably the 1st of March till the beginning of September, which is about 6 months. And then because almost everything we sell on eBay goes to the mainland. So, and on the mainland, this time of the year, everything's going dormant and cold and whatever. If a plumeria plant gets to be, if you had one out in the open and it dropped below 30 or down to 30 degrees, it could kill it like that. The next day it'd be dead. And so that's why, it doesn't. Over here, even, you see a lot of the trees go dormant for like between probably the middle of December till the end of January, is when the leaves start coming back out again.
Right. So once it's dead, after 30 degree temperatures, it can't revive.
Nope.
No.
The whole thing's like gel.
Wow.
It's done.
Now, what is the furthest that you sent these stalks to?
This is kind of funny. We had one week we sold to 2 different places in Alaska. We have a couple of customers that we've sold to Alaska, by themselves. But one week we had 2 of them that went to Alaska to 2 different things, which I thought was pretty funny. This is in the summertime. They take them, and even like my sister lives in Minnesota, and in the summertime they bring their plants out from either a heated area. Sometimes they keep them in the house, during the dormant season. In the summertime, they have a period of probably 6 or maybe 6 months that they can keep them out. So that's the way they do all that. In Alaska, of course, you're not going to have a plant out in the snow. That just doesn't work. So that's how that kind of works.
Wow.
Most of our people that put them in the ground are in Southern California, Georgia, Texas, Florida for sure. All that area there, you can put them in the ground and leave them there over a year because it doesn't drop down.
So you have a website?
We don't have a website. We just we're known as Blooming Plumerias, and that when we put our stuff up, that's what it goes under, is Blooming Plumerias, and that's where you'd look up our eBay stuff. But we haven't sat down and really drawn up a website to do, because we don't really sell cuttings, and that's pretty much what you would do, or to advertise the flowers. I mean, every week we have hundreds of watchers. So everybody, because we've been doing this for 14 or 15 years, everybody pretty much knows of Blooming Plumerias. So they know because about when it comes, about a month ahead of time, I warn people that we'll be starting up on so-and-so date. So get ready, here we come.
Now, do you have Blooming Plumerias also on Facebook?
Well, I talk about it sometimes as Facebook, but to be on Facebook, we don't have a web thing or any of that kind of stuff. But they're if I'm talking, well, how do I want to say this? I guess you could say we're on Facebook, because I once in a while might put something up if I'm going to sell it individually and that kind of deal.
Okay.
But just the people that know us, and some people put out a list of the best sellers, and some on that same list will be the ones that do not trust sellers, or the bad people that, because there's a lot of people that want to rip people off. Some people are afraid to buy online like that, and they ask, what do you know on Blooming Plumerias, and they'll write a thing. Blooming Plumerias is one of the top people and whatever, so feel very good with them.
Right on.
So that we have that, rapport or whatever the word is.
That's great. You got that
we
standing.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you for doing this, talking to us for your history, and
as you know, we could go on and on with this for hours, because there's.
But and you've been family and for so long, You're.
Let me just run off a couple of names here of people just to give credit to your thing here that I've worked for, and the people that I like.
Oh yeah, the stunt coordinators you've worked for.
Yeah, well, like I say, Gary Baxley's definitely one of my number one guys there. Leon Delaney, which did One West Waikiki over here, he gave me a bunch of driving and whatever. He was great. Ronnie Rondell and Greg Barnett.
Oh man.
Greg Barnett for sure. He's still working, and he's
Yeah.
my age pretty much.
Now, Fuzzy's like 52 years old, so
75. But let's see here. What other good ones here? A lot of the same people use me over and over again. Brian Kealana used to be one of the top stunt coordinators stuff here. He must have 5 or 6 different businesses that he does.
what a busy man. And
Oh, he is.
what the,
He
and
is-
he's now
so busy.
and he's now pretty much the legend in Hawaii now.
Yeah,
He's
not just for the surf, but
No.
for a lot of different things.
yeah.
They're apparel stores. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
One person I do miss is Brock Little. He was one of the top surfers and whatever, but he was a coordinator over here also that I worked with a lot with and whatever. His dad, Jim Little, is the one that, back to Plumeria real quick, he was the one that, he has, I don't know, maybe 15 acres up on the hills of out at the North Shore. And he's been around since the early 70s, I think, and he's the number one guy that sells Plumeria. He is outstanding. But that's Brock's dad and whatever. But Tristler helped me out a whole bunch. Like I say, there's a bunch of names on here, but there's just some of the ones that people do know and whatever, and some of my favorites that helped me out a lot getting started and helping me along, giving me stuff, teaching me as I went along. So that was always good.
Right on.
But anyhow, that was a quick little...
Before we go, I'll tell you what. Can you sign a few of these pictures?
Sure.
So.
Do you have a pen that you know is going to work?
Yeah.
This opens, or how does this... If I pull it?
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. See how great my handwriting is here. Is that, oh yeah.
Right there, guys. Right by Fuzzy Moody. You didn't play Felipe. You played Pepe, right?
Yeah.
Right on with your beret. That's an awesome picture. That's an awesome picture. And I'll have you sign a couple more if you don't mind.
Let me see if I can write it a little bit better. But my handwriting is not good. Okay. See if I can get this one longer and better. Of course, a lot of people, when they sign something, you can't even read it.
Fuzzy,
Right.
thank you
Wait,
very
we got
much.
One more here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been fun.
I really appreciate you taking the time to sit me and do this. I know it's your busy time. Plus, it's the
Yeah,
Christmas
I
era.
always make time for you, buddy.
Yeah, so-
You and I go back way a lot, and when we come to Vegas, you've helped me out with a lot of different things, and different stuff helping me with. Like one time with the baseball, you brought
Oh, yeah.
a cooler. I mean, you know, we've tried to help each other as best we can, and that's what friends are for.
Anytime, man.
And you know, it's been nice
So.
and whatever. It's too bad that when I see you here, it's like I just saw you yesterday. But you know, I call you and we talk every once in a while, but it's not quite the same.
You know, and
So-
now my brother has been acting. He's been doing work on. He had a couple lines on NCIS Hawaii,
Oh, good for him.
and also a small line on Doogie Kamealoha on the Disney Channel, which you worked on Doogie also.
Yeah,
I saw
yeah.
you did a basketball stunt there too. See,
You know that one thing, they had me over there at the end rubbing my knee because I was all beat up and everything. And 3 different people from the camera and the director came over and said that was so perfect. He did such a great job of acting how sore it was, and all this stuff. It wasn't a dialogue part or anything, but it was something they did a close up of me doing it. I thought that was kind of nice. So it's all good working in the business. It's the people. Most of the people are really good people to work with and for. So that's why I'm still doing it and I still enjoy it. It's when I work on the set, it's more fun than it is work.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
But you do your best, and I give 100% every time. So.
And you just worked on an episode on NCIS Hawaii
Yesterday.
Yeah, so right on. So everybody, please be looking on all the TV shows on the reruns. Look on NCIS Hawaii, Doogie Kamealoha, everything that's coming up. You're going to recognize this guy, Fuzzy Moody, and the one and only. So I love you, brother. Malama
Me too,
Pono,
man.
Mele Kaliki Maka.
It's not over, buddy. We're still going on.
Yeah, I'm hoping some way to end up be back home here. So.
If you can get the same kind of job, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're probably. That's what's hard about leaving, especially getting at our age now too, is that to pack everything up and leave. I've been here since 1970.
Wow.
It'd be my life.
Yeah.
I'd have to literally start over completely.
Yeah.
You have family here, which would help start you again, but you would miss all of that you've been in Vegas for.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would be hard.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, brother, I love you. Thank you very much for this time.
Oh, you got it, buddy. Thank you.